Hello, I'm Regina Botras, and this is Backstage, where we talk with the who's who on stage, in dance, comedy and performing arts, speaking with the leading theatre makers of our times and how they came to the stage and what drives them and inspires them. Well, I'm joined by Shiv Palekar from Sydney Theatre Company's production of 4,000 Miles, which has just opened last week at the Wharf Theatre. It's written by Amy Herzog, and she's from the US. You might think of scenes from a marriage. And Shiv plays Leo, and he's just landed on his grandmother's doorstep at 3 a.m.-ish, I think, in the morning after a 4,000-mile bicycle ride to get there. Shiv was born in India, raised in Hong Kong, and now based in Sydney. You might have seen him in Counting and Cracking at Belvoir, The Tempest, The Real Thing, Beauty Queen of Lenaine, and Disgraced for Sydney Theatre Company. Heaps of productions around the nation. The Almighty sometimes from Griffin, Bell Shakespeare and Melbourne Theatre Company. And he's here to talk about this production and also how he came to the theatre. Welcome, Shiv.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Regina. It's nice to be here.
It's so good to have you. And I did see the production at the opening, and it is just a beautiful, intimate story. But before we get into that, you were born in India and raised in Hong Kong. What was life like for you growing up?
I don't know any different. So life was just really nice, I guess I just lived my life. But India was great. I grew up and lived there till I was about 7. And then my mum remarried and my stepdad got a job in Hong Kong. So that's how we ended up there. I did most of my schooling in Hong Kong, which was like the last bit of primary, all of secondary. And then once that was done, I moved to Australia. But life was cool. It was like awesome to move around, learn things, like a crash course in a new culture, make new friends. And
I was wondering about that kind of cultural difference. And I don't know if you remember what it was like to go to Hong Kong and did, I'm assuming your mother was Indian. Did you kind of maintain that, language and food, or like how did, was there a clash? How did it work? Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, there was like really nice clashes in the fact, or like an exchange, in the way that I guess I made friends of all different ethnicities. And we had like a beautiful sharing. Like I'd go around to their place and eat food from their cultures. They'd come to my place. They'd have Indian food. There was also a lot of Indian people in Hong Kong. So I feel like we had community there pretty soon after moving. And we'd also like visit India once a year. Or our grandparents would come out and see us. And so there was a link to like language and place and food. A nice continuity of life, but also like a new opening up of things, which, I think is important and which I really value looking back now.
And so when did you first come to be acting or on the stage?
I suppose, I did like primary school plays and stuff, which I like kind of hated. I used to be painfully shy as a kid. I still am pretty shy in general. But I think, Mum forced me to go and audition for The Tempest in high school. There was a company out of Brisbane called Zenzenzo, who were a physical theatre company. And they were coming to do a school production at my high school in Hong Kong. I think I was in year 10 or year 11 at the time. And they were going to take 25 kids as opposed to the usual like 150. So it was like, there was some hype around it. There was a bit of prestige, and Mum was like, you got to go. And I was like, I absolutely don't want to. I don't understand Shakespeare. I don't know what physical theater is. Like, this is, like I was essentially, it was on a Saturday morning. I just like, it was the last thing I wanted to do. But she basically shoved me out of the house. I went and did the audition. I got a role in the play, which was like great. And I was still like, okay, this is kind of fun. And I think 3 weeks into rehearsals, I just had this moment where I was like, just like sheer clarity, where I was like, I think I want to do this for the rest of my life. And I went home and I told her, and she was like, oh no, like, I thought, like, I just wanted you to do this play. Like, no, not your life. Like, and then, through a lot of convincing and I suppose, yeah, the first step was convincing her to, let me try out drama school. The second step was like once I got in, she felt better. And the third step was like once I was about to finish, she, started worrying again about my future. And then luckily work kind of followed on from there. So we're now at a point where she like doesn't think twice about it. Like she knows that this is what I do and what I love. And that's really nice.
So when did you come to Australia then, or Sydney?
I came to Australia. Well, I first went to Brisbane in 2011 to intern for that same physical theatre company.
Oh, so how much later was that?
That was straight out of high school. I was, I basically finished high school and I was, I think it was June of 2011 or July of 2011 that I moved to Brisbane, interned for 6 months, and then auditioned for NIDA that same year. And the funny thing was I was doing like a walk-on role with the Queensland Ballet in their production of Swan Lake. Like we were just kind of bodies in space for them. But because I was doing that, I couldn't do the NIDA auditions in Brisbane. I checked all the other cities because I was like, I have to, I'm here to do this. And if I can't do it, what am I doing? The only thing that was left open was Darwin. There was and that worked perfectly on a day off, kind of with the schedule of the ballet. So I flew out one night, auditioned that day. And because it's, quite a small number of people in Darwin, the 3 rounds of audition happened kind of in the same day. It was just like an 8-hour marathon of being kind of not knowing what was happening. And then we got released. And, I think a few weeks later, I got the call saying I'd gotten into NIDA. And that was kind of it. Then I went back, got a new visa and started studying in 2012.
Right. And so that company that you did in Queensland, was that a physical theatre company, was it?
Yeah. So it was mostly, like Suzuki method of actor training, which is like Japanese methodology, and Buto as well, and Viewpoints, which is, I suppose, more of an American methodology of movement.
How does that training, I suppose, inform you as an actor?
I think these days it's I'm really grateful for it. I feel like I'm not active in practicing, especially the Suzuki method anymore, but I think all those things like in life, you just accumulate skills and they live on in you somewhere. And you call on them when you need them. I think that my entry into acting being from that physical perspective makes me quite, my approach still first is kind of physical or something getting a body understanding of the space or the text or the relationships, and then the intellectual kind of part happens next, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about this production, 4,000 Miles. In the program online, Mitchell Boutel says, although it was Kip who brought this to the stage or to the program, but he says 4,000 miles is the distance between us and those we love, between our younger and older selves, and between what we hope for and what we arrive at, and that divide between them. And you're playing alongside the wonderful Nancy Hayes, who has been, just so an icon, or a Diane of a theatre and stage and screen. And he spoke about a connection. Do you have a connection with Nancy before this production at all?
Apart from I'd heard her name everywhere, and I knew the Hayes Theatre was named after her. I just heard the most wonderful things. I'd never met Nancy until we shot the poster. But I saw her performing at the Sydney Theatre Awards a few years ago, when her and a few of her colleagues from Chicago did a number, and I was just I was blown away. It was incredible. And she is incredible. I feel lucky to be in her company.
Yeah. So do you want to describe the relationship between you and her? She plays your grandmother in this production.
So I guess the relationship of the characters, Leo and Vera, is, there's some similarities in that way that happens when you skip a generation. Leo does not get on with his mum at all, but he gets on with Vera eventually really well. I think they reach a beautiful understanding. He's kind of lost and adrift, at the start of his life, I guess, as a young man. And Vera is at a very different point, having lived a very full life and lost some loved ones along the way. She's able to give Leo this beautiful, I guess, sense of completion of a loss that he's just experienced. Her pragmatism and her kind of perseverance as a person really gives him something, gives him structure because he's, yeah, like I said, he's adrift. And I think that's a special thing that happens with experience. You know, she's lived it multiple times over, and for him, it's his very first time. So it's a sweet kind of symbiosis. Eventually, there are some rocky patches on the way, but yeah, they reach a beautiful understanding.
And we are in New York in a very
Hmm.
oh before anyone came on the stage, I was like, oh, I just
Mm.
love this apartment this world takes place in. It's just beautiful.
The set's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It allows for this kind of two parallel lives or something, like a, I don't know, like you are looking in the window into the lives of these two.
Definitely, yeah. And it's kind of like the way that it's just a cross section of this like floating apartment. Like it's, and the rest is kind of black space around it that you really get a sense that you've kind of crashed into this one house. And you get to share the space with these two people. But it's a beautiful set. It's like super realistic. There's the finer details are incredible. And it's cool to like, perform on a set like that. Um, because you can just interact with things in a real way. And like, there's a fridge which you can actually get a drink out of. There's books on the bookshelf. There's like everything is practical and real, and yeah, makes it feel that much realer for us.
And I don't know what it is, but I did feel well, maybe when I go back to New York, but it had the atmosphere of place somehow, and I don't know if that's in the set or in you guys or
Mm,
in the script but it does really feel like it is in place.
absolutely. I think a lot of that is, well, Nancy like does a fantastic job of playing, like a real life New Yorker that's been there from the very beginning. Leo's obviously a bit more of an outsider because he comes from Minnesota, but I think the sound design is something else that really, really helps us. Like during the scenes, I'm not sure if you could hear on opening night, but there's the kind of streetscape is alive. While the scenes are happening, you can hear like car horns or sirens or just like the hum of life outside. So I feel maybe that speaks to what you were talking about with the sense of place. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, maybe. I was wondering, yeah, if there was something like that.
it's
Now,
kind of the subliminal things that like trick you, and you're like, "Whoa, here I am." Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh, it's so subtle. Like, and this play is quite subtle. I think it kind of creeps into you as you go because your character, you're kind of, in a way, trying to escape something, but as a consequence, you are kind of moving closer to it at the same time, right? And it feels like that relationship between you, like, yep. So you arrive in the middle of the night, and there's this thing where it is um, a family in that you just turn up and expect a bed, like whatever time it's okay that it's 3 a.m. to you. So I'm wondering about that relationship between you and that. I guess maybe you come to know yourself through other relationships, through the people in your
Hmm.
lives, maybe.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's very true. And the other thing that Vera does for Leo is like gives him space to be. Like she might not necessarily be super happy with who he is or how he's getting through stuff, but I think like where the character of his mother might be a bit more at him in certain ways, Vera kind of just gives him the opportunity to open up at his own speed. And I think, yeah, so like he sees himself also reflected in her through things that she says. But I think the opportunity to reflect and then the kind of time to let that reflection settle in is what gives the play its strength and puts both characters in motion. Um, yeah, it feels like it reawakens something in Vera, but it also, for the first time, gives Leo some kind of momentum towards accepting his grief or responsibility.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. The life challenges that he's up against. Were there challenges for you in this production? And
challenges. Uh, I mean, I think look, the hardest thing is like just not being the age. Like I'm a good 10 years older than Leo, the character of Leo. So I think a lot of it was kind of being like, this is what I'd do, and then be like, no, 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 how would I do this 10 years ago? Do you know what I mean? So I think that was kind of the internal struggle I had with like the logic of things. I had to keep talking myself down from like my current way of doing it or something. Um, but yeah, apart from that, I mean, I think we're always our own worst enemies, you know? Like the team was fantastic. So I feel like the challenge was kind of, yeah, within myself to just be like, no, let that go, or be comfortable with being, like an immature or like a slightly less likable person than you think this character is. Kind of leaning into some of those because they're true and pure, like the naive, hurtful, I don't know, the things we do when we're younger, when we're less aware. The things we regret now, looking back on it, I feel like there was a lot of moments in rehearsals where we're like, oh, that's absolutely what I would have done. And then we went and put that into the scene. Yeah.
Yeah. So Leo, the character that you play, are you like what are the things if you were going to sort of describe him? Like what I guess there's always something that stops him or what are his choices? What are the things that he's up against for you in this role?
I think he's like a self-professed hippie, but I don't think he's a hippie at all. Like he comes from quite a rich
Right?
intellectual family. So he is like what you call a trustafarian. Like he's a trust fund kid, but acts, like he's not. So I think that's like the societal kind of status thing is the first thing that's in his way. But he's also a young man that's like, he is sensitive and he does know how to talk about his feelings, I think. But he's quite irresponsible or not willing to, accept fault for many things, which doesn't leave him room to talk about those things in a reasonable way. So I think, yeah, he's got the internal struggles of like trying to just single-handedly force himself through his life or, get through his life without taking on anyone else's feelings or responsibility. But really, like, I think what he learns from Vera is that it's about community and it's about connection. And this is what I think is important for audiences too. And I feel like they get it, that it is about these like very wide expanses actually having beautiful meeting points, and that, yeah, life isn't about any one person, that it's a shared thing and it's an accumulation of people and moments and, yeah, it's bigger than just one person. It's bigger than an individual.
And also that sort of sense that you have these relationships or connections and you don't have to be with them all the time. Like that there's something in that space between people that, even, yeah, for her and her neighbor, just like, you don't need to see them. Like you just need to know that they're there or something, right?
They're there and that they're alive.
Yeah.
And yeah. I mean, there is, that's like, absolutely.
So community doesn't mean like being involved and active or something all the time.
Yeah. That it can just be as small as just a hello or a text message, like just something to be like, you still there? You still good?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Which is, it's beautiful. And I love the relationship between you two and that kind of, the development of trust, because it's sort of set up as like there's a little doubt in the audience. Well, you're thinking, I'm not going to talk specifically, but, just in terms of the trust. And it's just, lovely.
Yeah, and I think the writing is so smart in setting up things like that. Yeah, that putting doubt into the audience's mind to be like, what are these people, or what is he actually, what do they want from each other? Or what does he want from her? Or how far will this go?
And what is he hiding? Like there's a lot that we aren't told that you are filling up as it goes, but you don't know how it's going to be wrapped up or in the end, like, does he leave or does he, finish all those things that he didn't finish, but it doesn't matter because there's sort of something in him that's changed. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me. It is such a pleasure. It was just wonderful production.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
That's Shiv Palekar in 4,000 Miles on at Sydney Theatre Company at the moment at Wharf 1. It really made me want to go back to New York and to right across the country even. I think it's not going to happen for me in this lifetime, but I really recommend getting along to see it. That's 4,000 miles.